dragging his right leg, the one that had left a lasting memory in Mogadishu. George Washington Jackson slowly piled the last bag of groceries onto the highest shelf of the Good Life supermarket. Sweat soaked his washed, bleached plaid shirt, clinging to his still broad, but slightly stooped back. Beside the shelves, the new young manager, Brian Miller, folded his arms, his brow furrowed. "Jackson, how many times have I told you that the pasta aisle should be sorted by brand color, not by date of manufacture? Did your brain, like your legs, end up in Somalia?" Miller's sharp voice cut through the soft background music, drawing curious or embarrassed glances from several customers. Jackson's hand paused, his knuckles thickened with wear and tear and old injuries. Without turning back, he muttered, "Got it, Mr. Miller," his voice hoarse, like the turning of rusty gears. Over 20 years ago, he was a member of the 75th Ranger Regiment, fighting his way through the inferno of Black Hawk Down and earning the Silver Star. Now, he's just a veteran, bossed around by his young superiors, struggling to pay his rent and VA medical bills. Discrimination isn't always blatant. It's hidden in the way Miller meticulously checks his every break time clock, in the clauses that dock bonuses for even the slightest delay, in the disapproving whispers of that weird old soldier among his colleagues, even in the laughter of neighborhood kids as they imitate his limp. His Medal of Honor lies quietly in the depths of his bedroom drawer, coated in a fine layer of dust, as if forgotten along with his past glory. Leaving early? Jackson, look at the mess in the merchandise area. Do you think this is a charity? You can't leave today until you've completed the inventory. Who knows if that little psychological problem of yours is just a joke to get away with it? Miller chuckled dismissively and poked Jackson's shoulder. Veteran, the country owes you, not me. Jackson's face paled, and his breathing quickened slightly. It wasn't anger, but a deep, stinging sadness. He clenched his fists, the adrenaline of old battles surging, but ultimately it dissolved into a feeble sigh. He turned silently and limped toward the mountain of goods. Just then, an unusual commotion erupted at the supermarket entrance. 3 black Chevrolet Suburban full-size SUVs, like silent behemoths, quietly parked in the handicapped parking spaces outside the supermarket. The car doors opened, and 8 muscular soldiers in crisp army uniforms and black berets swiftly alighted. They quickly and professionally dispersed their guard, their eyes scanning the surroundings with sharp glances. Their presence formed a stark and absurd contrast with the faded "Support Our Troops" sticker adorning the supermarket entrance. Finally, the back door of the middle car opened. An elderly man stepped out. He stood tall and straight, like a pine tree, his hair meticulously combed. His face was etched with the marks of age and an undeniable authority. The 4 stars on his epaulets gleamed with a terrifying brilliance under the pale light of the supermarket entrance. He was a U.S. Army general. Customers paused, the cashier forgot to scan the QR code, and everyone watched in amazement as this sudden army surrounded the general and marched straight into the supermarket. The general's gaze scoured the shelves like a hawk, finally resting on the limping figure struggling to lift a heavy box. He strode forward, his leather shoes resounding with commanding force on the tiled floor, followed closely by his aides and guards. "Sergeant Major George Washington Jackson?" The general's voice boomed, carrying the commanding presence of a longtime leader, yet also hinting at a subtle excitement. Jackson's body stiffened, the box in his hands nearly dropping. He slowly turned, taking in the familiar yet unfamiliar face before him. Time had changed much, but the look remained the same. It was General Matthew Reed, the former commander of his Ranger Battalion, the commander who had fought alongside him through the hail of bullets in Mogadishu. "Reed, sir?" Jackson's voice was dry and almost unintelligible. General Reed ignored the jaws dropped around him. He stepped forward, taking in Jackson's supermarket apron, his weary face, and the arrogant yet pale young manager beside him. The general's eyes shifted from excitement to shock, then to icy anger, like the harsh winter on the parade grounds at West Point. "God, George!" The general's voice dropped, filled with unbelievable pain. "For 5 years, I've mobilized every resource, and the VA said you might not want to be disturbed, ... I never imagined they'd tell me you were doing well. In a place like this ... His gaze flickered sharply to the name Manager Miller on Jackson's badge, then to Brian Miller's pale face. Being bossed around by this kind of bastard? Manager Miller's legs began to tremble. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The air around them seemed frozen. The general's aide-de-camp, a stern-faced colonel, immediately stepped forward and addressed Miller. "Sir, please explain why a Silver Star-winning, combat-disabled veteran was treated this way in your establishment. Furthermore, you illegally occupied a VA medical appointment guaranteed by federal law." Miller stammered, I don't know. He never said that. "Sir, there's a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" General Reed's voice was like hail. "I heard what you said, sir. You lack the most basic respect and compassion for the heroes this country promised to take care of." He turned to Jackson, his tone becoming stern. "Master Sergeant Jackson, change into your uniform. I personally invite you to attend the Medal of Honor ceremony at the Pentagon next week, as my guest of honor. We need your example." Then, the general spoke quietly but clearly to his aide. "Contact the CEO of the supermarket chain's headquarters, and inform them of what happened here. Also, write to the State Veterans Affairs Commission and the local Veterans Association on my behalf. I demand a full explanation. If this manager's behavior is consistent with the company culture, I believe the public and veterans groups will be happy to know how their commitment to supporting the troops is demonstrated." Miller's face drained of all color. He knew that not only his job, but his career, even his reputation in the community, was over. Jackson watched this unfold, as if in a different world. He didn't look at Miller, but slowly straightened his back. The sharpness that had been worn down by life seemed to return to his eyes. He looked at his old commander and gave a slow, solemn military salute. Despite the supermarket apron, his posture was still standard and powerful. "It's a pleasure to see you again, General." General Reed, his expression solemn, raised his hand in a standard military salute. "It's my honor, Sergeant Major." Amidst the awe and mixed gazes of the crowd, veteran George Washington Jackson, surrounded by a group of generals and soldiers, walked out of the doors of the Good Life supermarket, step by step. Though still unsteady, he carried a long-lost dignity. Outside, the sky remained dark, but the American flag on the hood of the SUV remained as bright as if it had never rusted.